So one of the biggest lessons that I learned in just growing business was based upon me learning an actual vocabulary word, which was Kaizen. And Kaizen, when I first heard it, it sounded kind of like I don't know, maybe a food or something. And I asked the gentleman, this is a guy who had a degree from Harvard. I said, what's Kaizen mean? He said, it means process improvement. Process improvement. Now I understood the concept of process improvement. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but process improvement is improving the things that you're already doing. And so in today's video, what I'm gonna give you is one of my biggest breakthroughs that came from process improvement, and also a lot of the big mistakes that I see a lot of agents make as a result of trying to go out there and implement something they learned. So with that being said, let me walk you through it. Hey everybody, it's Michael Reese here. I'm a digital marketer, a real estate agent, and a coach, and I teach brokers, real estate agents, and teams how to grow their business exponentially through digital marketing, social media, and content creation. And if you would like to grow your business, if you'd like to get more listings, build your team, become the dominant agent in your real estate market, then you're gonna love this video, so make sure you keep watching. And if you do like it, please hit that like button. And while you're down there, make sure you leave a comment and subscribe. Turn on notifications because we put out new content every single week, and you'll be notified instantly when that content comes out. So when I first got into real estate, this is a brief story. I actually moved from offices. I won't get into the details, but I hired a statistician who basically said, Mike, if you stay where you're at, you're not gonna do well. In fact, he said, you'll probably go broke. And he said, do you know where this city is in this city? And he basically said Denton, which was on one side of Lake Dallas, and he said Frisco, which was at the time, it's a huge city now. Say more people work there than downtown Dallas, but at the time there wasn't as huge of a city. There was a lot of speculation. He said, do you know where Frisco is? And I said, yeah. Kind of planted a seed and put me into this path of really looking at the city next to me, which was Frisco, had a higher average transaction price. There was a lot of different metrics that went into him actually giving me that advice. I took his advice and I moved offices. The first day that I went to the office, I brought all my agents, and the first day that I went to the office, I actually met with the team leader. I sat down, told her a little bit about what was going on with my real estate business while I was looking to move, welcomed me with open arms, and I brought back all my agents. When they saw my team, they didn't have any room for me. And so one of the things to persuade me, I guess, to make that move is they offered me the conference room as an office. The conference room was pretty big. They moved out the conference table and they had a little separate office that I could use for my ISAs. And so at that time, I had met a lot of agents, but I met this one particular agent in that office. In fact, he walked up to me and said, I want to meet the guy that they literally gave our conference room away for. And he shook my hand. He had been in business a year, had not sold a home. And this should be encouraging because this agent later became one of the top agents in our market. In fact, became one of my competitors almost overnight based upon me giving him just a little bit of advice. I'm going to talk about that advice and why it was so critical. Now, first of all, you got to understand, I focus on listings, and what inspired me to do this video was yesterday, literally yesterday, I had two agents ask me, how do I start working with more listings? Now, this individual, he was following a process. He had followed it to a T. He had moved to Texas from Missouri. I don't remember the exact number. I want to say that he had $54,000 he had saved up from mowing lawns in Missouri, and he was moving to Texas. He had gotten to real estate for basically a year, inspired by a guy back in his hometown. And the guy gave him this formula, and it was 8x8, 12x12. I'm sure you heard about it. It's in a very popular red book that we've all read. And he could show me documented proof that he had followed the book to the T, and he had done 0 transactions. And the reason I'm showing you this video is I don't think that concept was wrong. In the book that he had read, it became a guide for a lot of people, but it was really giving agents the door and not the hinge, meaning it would tell you that you need to build a database, but it wouldn't tell you what you needed in a CRM, what made a good CRM. It wouldn't give you recommendations. So that always left the heavy lifting on the agent. So if I tell you to do a 12x12 mailer campaign, but I don't teach you about headlines, call to actions, guarantees, risk reversal, proof, how to get interest, those sorts of things, I'm giving you instructions without giving you the exact system. So this book did that, and what happened as a result of this agent, followed the book to a T. He followed the concept, the philosophy, but his messaging could have been wrong. I didn't look at it, wasn't probably capable of seeing it if it was wrong at the time because it was early on in my career. But what I do know is I was able to show that individual exactly what I was doing. And their big breakthrough came as a result of them adding another element to their business. And so what the problem with it was, it could have been messaging. I'm not going to get into that. What he had was he had a problem with actual throughput. He didn't have enough data, or leads as we call them, in order to be successful on a daily basis. And so in 2016, I actually started partnering with the real estate agents. And what I did was I remembered that, and I took that concept and applied it to our overall strategy. And at the time, it was really a theory. You know, we wanted to come up with the perfect blend. And when I was meeting with these agents and I was finding out where they were having trouble, I had just went through a book. Came from a book called The Goal, which basically boils down to the theory of constraint. So I'm gonna walk you through what that means and why there is a constraint for most real estate agents in their business, and really what's the cause of this constraint. So let me walk you through this. So at the time when I was partnering with agents, I had just come off building a home evaluation tool, and we had tremendous success. And so the problem that we are always trying to solve, and I'm gonna put this into kind of like a funnel over here, because I might need this area here in a second, but this is a basic funnel. A funnel or a pipeline, this is what most agents have. This is what their funnel looks like. They have a handful of people that are coming in every month. So they have people coming into their funnel every single month, and those individuals, they can come from digital marketing, they can come from direct response marketing, you can meet them at an open house. But fundamentally, if you were to take this same funnel and you were to pour water into it, what you would see is you would see this funnel start to build up and build up and build up, because one thing you have right here, this is gonna be your constraint. This is the constraint in a funnel. This is where you have more information, you have more water, so to speak, at the top, and it can't get through. Now, this is called throughput. And to get throughput in real estate, we have to have enough people in our funnel, and we have to have a conversion mechanism that's moving them throughout the process. Now, for us, this is the top of funnel: tofu, mofu, and bofu. And as you could probably guess, this is top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. The problem that agents have is not here, because if they had a problem here, that means they had so many opportunities they're not able to get to them. When you have so much water into the funnel that it can't get through. So your job at that point is to get throughput. Now, if I have so many opportunities that I can't get to them all, I can't convert them, then I might have to come up with a better marketing system in order to sift the leads and find a better qualified lead. An example would that be is I could generate a lot of home evaluation leads, I could fill up the funnel, then I could survey them, and through a survey, I could identify out of 1,000 that just went in, which 20 or 26 or 30 are looking to do something in the next 90 days. That is not the problem. It is part of the problem, but that is not the problem. The main constraint, this is where we want our constraint. Your goal should be what my goal was. My goal was, not only did I solve the problem here with ISAs, I was able to get ISAs to help me convert. If I had a bunch of leads and I couldn't call them all, and I didn't have enough time in my calendar to call them, I now had somebody else. And I learned that because I got backed up on my calls. And if you get backed up on your calls, those are top producer problems. Those are problems that you want to have. But let's face it, most of the agents, including the two I talked to yesterday, their problem was they didn't have enough stuff in the top of the funnel. And this really blew my mind, because for years, I went and built my business off of leads. I built my business off of leads. And when someone would ask me for advice, what I forgot to tell them was what I did when I had no leads. What I did in the very beginning, and if you're in stage one of your business, if you don't know what stage one is, make sure you go watch the video we did about the 7 stages of business. It will help you walk your business through what problems and challenges you're gonna have in the future, and it'll help you isolate what things you need to focus on in order to go to the next level. I'll link the video below, put a link up top here. Here's the problem. ISAs helped with conversion, and once I converted and I had a bunch of people that wanted to look at homes, I had to hire OSAs, outside agents, because now the funnel goes this way. I needed to get leverage, because now my throughput, my problem, my challenge was with not having enough time to show the buyers and meet with the sellers. I was going on listing appointments all the time, and that's why individual agents try to take on all the responsibility of being the ISA, the OSA, the person who's responsible for figuring out this equation. That person doesn't have enough hours in the day, and there's different functions in the real estate business. And so what your job is to be able to identify what biggest challenge you have in throughput, and I'm gonna tell you what it is. It's here. You do not have enough top of funnel. And the question is, well, how do you get top of funnel? Well, there's 2 ways you can do it. If you have money, you can invest it into your business and you can generate leads. Now, what most agents do, and I'm telling you, I don't care who you are, I've seen this happen over and over. If you want to know the difference between you and the person who has everything that you want in their business, it's because they were able to move through this process based upon a different paradigm. So for me, my paradigm is, write this down. My paradigm is I can do anything for 90 days, and after doing it for 90 days, I can put a system in place and I can have somebody else do it. And so when I made these calls, when I made this comment to one of these agents, I said, listen, you do not have enough opportunities to even hit your goals. Because for us, one of my ISAs had 2,636 contacts that they were responsible for making contact with. And out of that, they set 20 appointments and had 16 people say they wanted to do something in the next 12 months. Well, if you think about that, really those numbers are off, because usually the numbers would be reversed. We would have maybe 7 appointments with 30 people wanting to do something in the next 12 months. But the truth is most people don't have over 2,000 people to contact. Now 2,000, because my ISA's metrics was they had to make 500 calls a day. Now, some of the times when they made these phone calls, there would be 3 phone numbers for each household. So each house would have 3 phone numbers. So if you divide that by 3, that's how many houses they were contacting. So still, even though they had 500 phone numbers to call, which is a full day work for an ISA, they still weren't gonna make enough contacts with homeowners, because in this scenario, we wanted them to make contact with 34 people to set an appointment. Those were our numbers. Some were higher, some were lower. Those were the averages that we saw across a handful of ISAs. At one point we had 10. We were quantifying how do we get scalability and predictability. So follow me here for a minute, and I'm gonna tell you what made the difference. What made the difference and gave me the most awareness was when I had more than one agent. When I had 4 agents in 4 different markets, what I realized was the lead generation and cost, where I had the biggest challenge of helping an agent produce, was where I wasn't able to generate enough leads in order for the ISA that was dedicated for them to be successful. So when you walk into the office and you see 10 ISAs and you have 10 partners out there working in the field, and one ISA is not busy, and it just so happens to be the same ISA that's helping that OSA, that outside agent, that real estate agent, get face to face, when we weren't making that connection, I knew we had a problem with throughput. The big breakthrough came when we started using data. And the reason why is with data, I had learned that 9% of my leads, after looking at all my leads over the course of a year, and I saw that 9% of them either sold, went pending, were active on the market, I realized that all of my leads don't want to do something today. I knew that 3% of the leads wanted to do something today based upon our assumptions in our model. And we assume that 20% would want to do something over the next 12 months. But the actual, if you go back and look at all of the leads you generated and look at the actuals, for us on the listing side, the actuals were 9%. And so for us, in order to solve this equation, we ended up being able to cause a challenge with our ISA. And what we did was we were able to go out and find neighborhoods that had 9% turnover rate. Sometimes there would be neighborhoods with 1,000 homes, 2,500 homes. There were no shortage of neighborhoods. We'd find neighborhoods that fit our average transaction price, and we would go in there and we would get the phone numbers at 9%. We would go in there and we'd get the phone number for every neighborhood, knowing that 9% of that neighborhood turned over last month. The great thing and crazy thing is sometimes we would find neighborhoods that had 14%, 13% turnover rates. But what that meant was I could call the leads that may cost me $8 a lead. So 1,000 leads would cost me $8,000. And if I got 1,000 leads, I might have 4,000 phone numbers, or I could go out and get a pin on 10,000 homes, which might give me 20,000. That would give me 20,000 people in the top of my funnel. Sorry, that's not supposed to be a dollar sign, but it could end up being dollar signs. But that would give us 20,000 phone numbers. And with 20,000 phone numbers, now I had a bottleneck. My ISA, who might only have, like most of you, if you're generating 5 leads a day, 10 leads a day, well, good for you, but that's only 300 people who gave you 1 phone number, 1 email address. The ISA is gonna blow through those in a day, and most days they're not gonna be busy because they only got 5 leads. And that's where most people are, is they're in a situation where after a certain period of time of being in the business, they don't have anybody to call. Even then, if they could think of a way to call somebody, they're left to doing these other things like mailing someone 8 postcards, pop buys, drop-ins, knocking on doors. What I'm here to tell you is your job is to get enough people in your funnel. If you can put 20,000 people in the top of your funnel that have a 9% chance of making a move, and we knew it cost 8,000, 20,000, this would cost you $160,000 to generate if you were to go out and generate those leads. This is data, these are phone numbers. So we would take these phone numbers, we'd obviously go through them, remove the do not call registry. You always want to follow the rules for your state. But for us, we would call those individuals and we would simply do a survey over the phone. Now, one of the things that we did do is we would add the past 2 years of expireds, because we wanted more phone numbers, and this would help us increase our actual turnover rate for that data set. So if we took a neighborhood that had 9%, and then we took the past 2 years of expireds, and we knew that out of those past 2 years of expireds, 30% or 20% of those, it would just help us increase those numbers, helping that ISA be more productive. You can't be an outside sales agent. You can't work with buyers if you have no one to work with. So your responsibility is to find out where your bottleneck is. If you have no listing appointments today, then that means it's because you're not doing a good job as an ISA. How do you do a good job as an ISA? You have to have critical metrics. You have to make a certain amount of phone calls. In the book, and I'm gonna put a little picture here of the book, Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. It's a great book, and it actually says in the book that anybody who's in sales that doesn't have a full pipeline should be committing half of their day to outbound prospecting. Well, for us, when you prospect, who are you gonna call? You're gonna call strangers, you're gonna ask them questions. You usually have to have a high level of skill set to overcome objections, articulate your value. In this scenario, we have 20,000 people. With these 20,000 people, all we wanted to do was quickly identify the people that were gonna be moving. So we did a survey, which I also did a video on surveys and why they're so productive. Now you can do surveys offline, or you can actually do them over the phone, or you can do them face to face. We found it very productive to do them over the phone. So we would have ISAs calling the 20,000 phone numbers, and when they would call through those phone numbers, what would actually happen is they would get a hold of people that wanted to make a move in the next 12 months. So then they would take those individuals, and now they would have a pipeline, someone that they can follow up with. And so in January of 2016, my first ISA, who started, I believe, on January 2nd, created 161 nurtures through this process. And that means they found and identified 161 people that wanted to make a move in the next 12 months. Imagine if this coming up month, next month, which is a few days away, if you went into that month and had 161 people that had told you at some point in the past, over the last 12 months, that yes, I want you to follow up with me because I'm gonna be making a move and putting my home on the market. And what happens if you had done that the month before? I'll tell you what happens. It might be 161, 172, 91, but over time, when you call these people, they're gonna say, oh no, something happened, we're not moving. Or they're gonna say, we're still doing it, but it's gonna be 2 months from now. Or they're gonna say, hey, I was just thinking about calling you, I'm glad you reached out. Here's where the magic happens. When you identify these 161 people that are gonna move, maybe you identified them in January and February, March, April. If you have a nurture campaign, if you have a campaign once they're identified to now target this audience and hit them by land, by sea, by air, to stay in front of them like an incredible Hulk in a puddle, what those people now are gonna do is they're gonna think of you. Your name is gonna be the first one in their mind because you took 20,000 phone numbers, you sifted them, you leveraged labor dollar, meaning you actually leveraged labor dollar, and through that labor dollar, which was, let's say you're paying an ISA, I'm just using a round number, but let's just hypothetically say you're paying an ISA $10 to $15 an hour. You're taking that plus for a phone number, maybe you're paying a penny or under a penny, a half of a cent. You're taking that half of a cent instead of $8. And through that labor efficiency, you're able to now predictably identify people, generate qualified opportunities, and get throughput. The alternative is if you know today that you would want to go on listings, then you have to have a strategy. If you don't have a strategy, or if you do have a strategy, hey, yeah, I would love to do what I see this gentleman doing, mailing 3 things to the neighborhood, but I don't have the money, then your bottleneck by definition is your budget. And so the way that you get around the bottleneck, which is my goal is to get listings, I have to remove the constraint. My constraint is my budget. Then you go out here and buy 20,000 phone numbers for under a penny. Now you have enough raw material to leverage labor, which when you don't have money is you. When you do have money and you're looking to scale is now you can hire. Now, if this is you and you do it for 90 days, you identify what process you use to reschedule an appointment, how you hand off an appointment, what you do when you set an appointment, how you do appointment reminders. Once you've identified all of the steps in this process that you followed over 90 days and you documented them down at the end of every day, you did a debrief, what challenges, what choke points did I overcome, and you made a list of all the things and all of the answers, and you gave that to a person to now step into that position and do it. Now you've installed a system, you've created a process, you've removed the bottleneck, and you've created a way for you to now be in control. Now you can be proactive. There's something in your control you could do every day to get a listing. See, the challenge is that most people are left to just expireds and FSBOs, and let's face it, a lot of homes are not expiring in today's market. The holy grail is to install this and then to layer lead generation on top of it. And the type of lead generation it's not just any lead generation. It's the lead generation that's gonna catch the tilapia. It's the lead generation that's gonna be the widest net, and that requires leveraging the step 1 process that we've taught before, which is how to leverage online marketing to optimize your conversion rates. Our landing pages were generating almost 51% conversion I don't know if you know what your landing pages are converting at. I don't know if you know what the best offers that are working in your market right now. If you don't know and you want to know, then head over to listingclass.com. Listingclass.com is a place where we update every 30 to 45 days the best offers working from Tampa, Orlando, Portland, Nashville, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Maybe it's a 1 acre plus funnel, a beachfront funnel, or a waterfront funnel. Maybe it's a buyer quiz funnel or a cash offer funnel. It doesn't matter. If you want to know what's working best right now, go to listingclass.com. There's a short little video. It'll walk you through the metrics, the conversion. It will literally show you what ads we're running and each step in the process of the funnel. And you're welcome to swipe and deploy it and apply it to your business. Most of the time, if it works in those markets, it'll probably work in yours. And listen, remember what we say. The best life to live is a life by strategy. It's not a life by transactions. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button.